we'll be discussing parameters and groups. So what are actually parameters slash groups? Well, let's take an example on the right of a coffee cup or mug where you have designed it, but you are a bit uncertain of a couple of dimensions, such as the wall thickness of the main cup body, or the thickness of the handle, or the distance and spacing of the handle. And you'd like, obviously, to create a few iterations of this coffee mug with different dimensions in order to test out which set of dimensions work best for your situation or your purpose. It would be useful if we could select a couple of these dimensions or parts of the geometry and define them so we can have a list of them, or you can have them separately for ease of access. So we can touch upon them in future revisions or future iterations and select those specific parameters or groups or geometry to later edit. Yeah, sort of setting them as a favorite to access and edit easily. Well, this is what SpaceClaim allows us to do using parameters and groups. So let's first go back to our ANSYS workspace environment. Let's select everything with Control A, delete that so we have a blank space, blank sheet. Let's go back into sketch mode and let's try to sketch pretty much a representation of this coffee mug. So we'll start off with the outer diameter of the coffee mug, the inner diameter of the coffee mug. Let's extrude both of these dimensions, one there and this slightly. Okay, now let's do a sketch. Well, first let's create a surface over here. Let's sketch on this new plane that we've created. Actually, before we create that plane, it might have been better to create a plane around the Z axis. Actually, let's go into sketch mode. Let's do sketch mode and no, not that sketch plane. I want a sketch plane right through the center of the mug. There we go, just like that. So on this surface or on this edge, let's define the curve for the handle. We'll start from here, go up like this, then go down here, from here go up to here. So that should be our sketch plane or sketch area. Let's define one point over here. Let's round off these corners. 2. There we go. Now let's exit sketch, re-enter sketch mode, but on this plane, on the point right along our handle sweep area. Okay, so what I've done, pretty much, if you struggle to follow along, please refer back to some of the tools or some of the sections that we've already covered in this course, because I've simply done an extrude or a pull on a multiple geometry face to create a cylinder with a bottom for the body of the coffee cup. Then I've defined a sketch plane sort of going through the center of the cup or through the middle, onto which I've drawn the area or the sweep path for the handle. I've done a point and I've selected this point as a new sketch plane, and then I've drawn a little circle to define sort of the diameter of the handle. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this along this sweep path right there to the end. Boom. And there we go. We have the coffee cup. So now that we have the coffee cup, you can sort of understand sort of like, hey, how do we go about actually editing this surface area or this area of the coffee cup? So what we can do, or how we can set the parameter, is if we actually select this area, this area, this area, this area, this area, pretty much the body of the handle of the cup, and we select pull, we can, or we should be able to, if space claim doesn't crash on me. Oh, that's okay. Space claim is struggling a bit. Okay, let's go back. Just a simple. Okay, we're back here. No, not that. This. Select it again. So as you can see, if we've selected these bodies or the body of the handle itself, we can use the pull tool to sort of adjust the thickness of the cup. And the reason why space claim was having problems is, as you can see in this area right here, where we have the radius of the handle in the corner, if you go above that radius, then space claim fails to create that geometry, and that's why it was sort of having a few issues and bugging out a bit. But just by pulling or selecting that geometry, you can see we have the text box appearing for the radius of the handle, which we can take up to, I believe, 1. So you can edit this again just by typing in dimensions like 0.3 or 0.7 and editing the thickness. However, you see next to all of the text boxes with dimensions that we've had or that we have seen up to now, we see a little box with a P next to it. This is parameter, or this is the groups that we are discussing right now. If you click on this, you can see that over here in the dialog box, it says group 1 has been created. So something happened. But where do we find this group 1? Well, if we go on the left-hand section, over here where we have the structure tree, you see there is a little tab for groups. If you click on that, it shows you all the different groups that you've defined. And this is group 1, which is sort of the thickness of the handle that we have just defined. If we click on this group, you can see that currently the value is at 0.7 millimeters. And if we click on this blue value, we can change this and we can set this to 0.3 if we wish. And then it edits the geometry in real time. So why is this useful? Why can't we just select it and use the text box? You can do that if you wish, but let's say we do certain different functions. Let's say we shorten or we lengthen the cup over here, or we widen or narrow it down over there. And then we want to come back, or oh, I've just realized we didn't have a base on the cup. We've just added a base right now. And then let's say, oh, we want to go back and edit this. Well, if you have a group defined, you can simply go back and quickly edit it without having to reselect the whole body, the whole geometry. You can even define it. Yeah, you can rename it. Instead of group 1, you can say handle thickness to define it like that. You can also define, let's say, this internal diameter over here. Let's parameterize this. Another group. Let's rename this. Put internal diameter 5.88. Let's see if we can change that to 5. How does that change? Yeah, makes it a bit smaller. Can we change it to, let's say, 3? Changes the internal diameter. Now let's say we want to make this skinnier, 0.1. There you go, a skinnier handle and a thicker wall. You see how quickly I'm editing these dimensions or these parameters without having to reselect all the different areas. This is the power of space claim, or the power of groups, because you can easily and quickly edit such dimensions or such parameters. What about this one, the thickness of the bottom? Yeah, can also define this one. Let's rename this and say bottom thickness. Yeah, and you see you can easily reference or go to the different areas that you have selected and edit all of these dimensions in real time without having to fiddle around and reselect the specific geometry. You can have sort of a favorites bar over here of all the different areas that you'd like to edit or play around with later on. Parametric modeling in essence. So let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. So this is what we just discussed, how you can define the parameters, how you can access the groups. You can have as many groups as you like. You can rename the groups so you can easily remember what you're editing or what you've defined as a parameter. So that's it for the parameter and groups tool. Moving on, in this section, we are going to be discussing the move tool. So what is the move tool? Well, let's consider the example given on the right, again by this coffee mug that we've been editing and creating, and we would like to sort of edit how close the handle is to the coffee mug body. How can we achieve this? Well, we could set and define a parameter, but there's a much easier option that SpaceClaim offers us. So obviously we could do a pull over here to sort of bring it back, but that's too complicated and it cannot give us the desired option that we want. However, if we select the move tool, this will allow us to select different bodies that we'd actually like to move around. Let's actually select this area because this is the section that we'd actually like to move. What happens? Once we've made our selection, if I just move this around and zoom in, you can see that a set of axes appear on our model. Now what these axes are, they sort of show us all the different 3 axes of freedom that we can move our geometry about. So let's say we actually want to move this handle towards the cup body. If we select this green arrow, hold and drag along it, you can see it starts to move this geometry, and it would obviously autocomplete the surrounding geometry related to it, and it will sort of move it along the axis or along that direction. The same you can do with some of the other axes, but obviously because these bodies are connected to these bodies, you can't sort of shift it up or to the side. It says the object cannot be moved because that breaks the geometrical relationship, so we can't move this orange highlighted bit to the right as it would not be connected to this bit anymore. These arcs that we have over here, they would usually be related to rotating features around the mug or around the object. Let's see if we can select a different thing to be edited. How about this? Let's see. Can we rotate this? Yes, we can. So you can see this little extrude or this little cut that we have over here. If we select the arc, let me move in closer. If we click and drag along this arc, it will rotate the feature about this red axis over here. Obviously, the axes are color coded, so you can easily understand what you're rotating about where. So the green arc rotates about the green axis, blue arc rotates about the blue axis, red arc rotates around the red axis, and so on and so forth. So obviously have a play around with these. You can achieve some very interesting effects using these techniques, and it allows you to move some features around really easily. If we just move this about, we can even, as an example, if we select this feature, would this allow us to move it down? No, but what if we select both of these features because they're connected? Now this would allow us to move it down. So you have to be relatively clever in your selection, because Space Claim can infer and can autocomplete certain tasks or certain motions, but it doesn't know or understand everything. And this is displayed by the move tool. So if you want to move this section solely, this section won't be altered. So it can't do that. But if you actually want to move this section down, you can select simply this section and then move it. You can see that that edits it. Or if you simply want to move the whole handle about, you can also do that. If you select the whole handle, you can move it up, you can move it down. I believe you can also move it out, you can move it in. You can rotate it a bit to give it a certain arc or flare, if you so wish. I believe you can also rotate it sideways. And you can see that Space Claim sort of does autocomplete. It does most of the work for us. So these certain features, they can help with quickly editing your geometry or editing features in your 3D geometry quickly and easily. However, it's also very important to understand what's going on behind the scenes in case you do get an error or you do get stuck. But as you can see, using these tools, we can quickly make alterations. This geometry that's left by, this is the line bodies that we've defined as the sweep angle. Obviously, it would have been better if we used construction lines, but just for the purpose of this demonstration, I just created this arc. However, if these curves bother you, you can simply select them from the structure tree over here, the arc, the point, these lines. And if you want, you can simply delete them and they go away. But be careful, because once you delete them, you lose the reference geometry that you used to create your sweep body. So only do it once you have your geometry finished and complete and the way that you want it. So we've discussed the move tool, we've discussed how we can move certain specific features, we've discussed the different parts of the axes of the move tool. Yes, I forgot to mention that you can also, if you wish, define a move motion as a parameter. So you can see you still get the text box with the value that you can edit over here to define the motion. You can also do negative values if you want them to be in the opposite direction. -1 will go in the opposite direction. And you can define this as a parameter as well. Now, if we go back into the groups and the parameter section, this parameter that we have over here actually moves the handle closer or farther away from the coffee cup. So let's say you want to actually have it relatively close to the coffee cup. You can put -2 to change the direction. If you put -2 again, it will move it farther away. You can, if you wanted to, again, you can change the thickness of the handle to suit your needs. Now let's say, you want the thinner handle, but you want it closer to the mug. You can easily achieve that. So yeah, parameters don't simply work on dimensions, they also work on move options and other things. As long as what you're editing has a P next to it, you can define it as a parameter. Now let's move on to the first exercise of this week. I would like you to create the CAD model of the coffee cup that we've just discussed as per the image. I would like you to create a set of parameters and groups for the handle thickness, the cup outside diameter, the cup inside diameter, and the cup height. I would also like you to create a parameter for the vertical handle position along the cup. This should be relatively easy if you've been following along through the tutorial, through the lesson. We've already demonstrated how to do some of these things, but now it's up to you to actually work through this exercise. Make sure you define all of your parameters. You can give your cup an interesting shape. It doesn't have to be a circular cup. It can be a square cup. You can define a special, let's say, cross section to the cup if you wish. But all I want you to do is actually define a couple of these parameters for the wall thickness of the cup, the handle thickness, the handle position around the cup, and the cup height, just so you can get used to all of the modeling tools that we've discussed up to now. And I would like you to get more familiar with parameter definition and parameter editing, because this will help later on when you are creating your own 3D models in order to actually define certain key parameters, key dimensions, key characteristics, which you can later easily and quickly edit.